citizen having the right to choose their leaders through elections is one of our most sacred values. Thank you to the local cable company, in particular Ben Smith, for providing coverage of this event so all residents have an opportunity to view tonight's event. Thank you to the school department, in particular Superintendent Mark Bodwall and Principal Christine Page, for allowing us to use this facility tonight. Thank you to the Board of Selectmen's office, in particular the Town Administrator, David Gagney, Assistant Town Administrator / HR Director, Linda Torres, and Executive Assistant, Lorna Carroll, for coordinating the schedule of the events and planning the night. Tonight's candidates for non-competitive races will be given approximately 2 minutes to present themselves to you, the voters, and explain why they're running. There will be no questions for these candidates as they are running unopposed. After these candidates speak, a 30-minute debate for each of the 2 contested races, Board of Assessors and Board of Selectmen, will be held. As town moderator, I'll moderate this event. If anyone has any questions pertaining to the debate, please write them down and hand them to the town clerk, Annie Iatelli, seated in the front row. If time allows, I will ask those questions to the candidates. All questions will be asked through me. No direct questioning to the candidates will be allowed. Some questions have been submitted previously via email. These questions will be asked first to the candidates. The previously submitted questions have not been shared with anyone. They're up here. Candidates will each get 2 minutes for an opening statement and 2 minutes for a closing statement. Each candidate will get 2 minutes to respond to questions. When there is 1 minute left, the town administrator, David Gagney, will hold up a green card informing the candidates when the time has elapsed. The town administrator will hold up a red card. I ask the candidates to stop talking at that time. Please stop talking at that time. The annual town election is on Saturday, April 9th at the Spring Street School. Polls are open 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. There is no vote by mail or early voting option for this election. Only absentee by mail or in person for the following reasons. A registered voter who will be unable to vote at the polls on election day due to absence from the voter's city or town during polling hours, disability, or religious beliefs. Please contact the town clerk's office for more information or to request an application. The deadline to apply for an absentee ballot is Friday, April 8th by noon. Now that novel is done, let's get started. We're going to start with the non-competitive races, and we're going to start with Miss Keri H. Milton for School Committee. If you could please sit here, and you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming. I'm Keri Milton, and I'm running for the West Bridgewater School Committee. I moved to West Bridgewater in 2005, and I have 2 daughters that are currently at the Howard Elementary School. I went to Northeastern University and studied elementary education and sociology, and upon graduation, did start teaching, but felt that there was something missing when I was teaching. You teach, you love to teach, because that's why you do it. And I moved over to the financial services sector, where I've been employed for the past 28 years. My involvement with the schools began when my oldest daughter transitioned to the Roselle School. She had attended a private kindergarten in town, and it wasn't the easiest transitions for her, and which translated to not an easy transition for me as a parent. She was coming home and telling me she had been spending a lot of time on the buddy bench. And as a parent, you can imagine how awful that feels to hear that your child's repeatedly coming home month after month telling you that there's no one that she can play with. She just had a hard time. So what I did was I found ways that I could become involved with the school and what I could control. And I started volunteering in her classroom and made photocopies, hundreds of photocopies, every Friday afternoon on my lunch hour. I also saw that the school was looking for parents to volunteer to serve on the School Improvement Council. And I jumped right in and took advantage of that opportunity. On the School Improvement Council, I've been serving since that time, since my oldest daughter was in first grade. I work with teachers and the administrators, and I feel like I've really have formed really strong working relationships with the administration and those teachers. We do parent surveys every year, and we take those surveys back, we do analysis, and we work on how we can incorporate that feedback that we get into our school improvement plans. And we focused a lot of time in our sessions on those school improvement plans. One of the most notable things that we did was at the Roselle was we changed the homework policy. And I'm really proud of my service at the Roselle and Howard School Improvement Council. And if you're looking for more information about me, you can check out my candidates video on the West Bridgewater Community Access Media page.
Thank you. Next, we have David Schmear for School Committee.
Hi, my name is David Schmear. I'm running for school committee. I grew up in West Bridgewater, and when it came time to raise my family, I moved back here. I'm an electrical engineer at the MBTA. I work in the signal department. I'm also on the board of Inclusion Matters, and that focuses on helping families with children who have IEPs and 504 plans. I really was interested in getting involved with the schools so that I could help out. I really feel like it's important for parents with younger children to also be on the school committee so that the focus is not always on high school or middle school. I don't really like public speaking very much, so I think I'll call it right here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Patrick Galligan for Constable, and he's an incumbent.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am going to be uncontested, but I would like to come here, see some faces that I've never seen or they don't know me. I've lived in West Bridgewater for the last 16 years. I have been a constable going on my third term. I'm here to help anybody who needs my assistance. And I'm very happy living in West Bridgewater, and I'm very happy to serve the people that have voted for me. And but even though I am an incumbent and uncontested, I would still appreciate your vote. And I served time in the Navy. I'm a disabled veteran, and that's about it for me. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Now we have Christopher J. Lawrence, Trustee of Public Library.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Christopher Lawrence, and I'm here to ask for your vote this April for the Library Board of Trustees. I have long been a supporter of the library, and I am looking to give back. I think you can feel the pulse of a community by visiting the library, and as a reflection of West Bridgewater, I feel we can feel pride in saying that our library is thriving. Thanks in part to the support of the town, including the library patrons, local businesses, friends of the library, volunteers, former library directors whose vision laid a solid foundation, and now the strong, capable leadership of our new library director, Laura Williams, and an amazing, dedicated staff who work wonders there daily. They say that if you haven't been to the library lately, you haven't been to the library. Gone are the dusty card catalogs and the shushing librarians pointing to the quiet sign. Yes, there are still books, and they are more important than ever. You can check out the latest page turner in person or digitally on your tablet from the comfort of your own home, or stream your favorite music or audiobook on your phone or smart speaker, and all you need is a library card. There's a 3D printer, a library of things that you can borrow, everything from a ukulele or a power washer, and there are programs for the young and the young at heart. such as the baby sing and play, book clubs, and paint nights, all made available for free. And if you're planning a trip out of the country, well, you can go on down to the library and pick up a passport. I'll leave you with one of my favorite quotes of the library, and it's that libraries are one of the few public spaces left in our society where you're allowed to exist without the expectation of spending money. As West Bridgewater celebrates its bicentennial, it's important to recognize just how much the town has grown. And as the town grows, so will the needs of the community, our community. And we must support the library to ensure that they can continue to meet those needs, and therefore I'm running for the Library Board of Trustees. And once again, I'm Christopher Lawrence, and I'm asking for your support in April. Thank you.
And for the last of the non-competitive races, we have Dylan Kragen for Water Commissioner.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name's Dylan Kragen. I'm a 3-year resident of West Bridgewater, formerly of Holbrook. My family was 4th generation in Holbrook. Unfortunately, I didn't like the way the town was going over there. The farmland that was once across from my family's home became Beard McGuire industrial site there. So we picked up, moved to West Bridgewater, South Elm Street in between Lincoln Street and Scotland Street. Immediately started getting notices that we had a warehouse going in, 40B going in, and Lamppost Estates going in right behind me. Was forced to pay attention to everything going on in town. And so I watched every meeting over the last 3 years, been to quite a few meetings. And then when the water issue came up, I had to get involved professionally. I work as a pipe fitter at Harvard University and have worked in the industry for 15 years. So I wanted to take a quick moment to thank Tommy Snell for his years of service as a water commissioner. And hopefully I can help fix some of the issues in town that we have currently with your vote on April 9th. Thank you.
Thank you to all the candidates. Have the 2 assessors candidates drawn numbers? Okay, perfect. So they are drawing numbers right now to determine, whoever draws number 1 gets to decide where they sit and also what order they speak in, just so you guys know.
She is.
Steve is, no. Steve is going first.
I'm going,
This
me?
time I'm going
Okay.
first.
Sorry.
Yeah.
We're all
So-
set?
Yeah, so first, we're going to give you your opening.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having us tonight. I'm glad it's only 2 minutes because I tend to jabber on sometimes. But I moved into town back in the early 90s, and we found and I'd heard about it. I'm from Brockton. That the town, it afforded excellent infrastructure, educational stuff, access to the highway, so the wife and I loved it. And we put our daughter Erin through the school system. I liked it so much that I wanted to somehow give back to the town, so I started doing some work for them, no charge. My services, I'm a commercial fee appraiser, and I have an extensive background in assessing and appraising. I've been doing it since 1980. I'm a certified state assessor, and more importantly, I'm a state certified general appraiser, which is the highest degree you can get in the appraisal field. It takes a lot of time to get that degree, and it lets you do an array of things, including testify in court on any number of properties. So I put that to good use for the town. I was elected, I was appointed back in '05 and elected in '06, and I've remained in office ever since. So with that type of work, I've gone on to the town, and believe me, with all the court work and such, I have saved them considerable money. We have so many cases that go forward, and I do this with my office in other communities that get paid for it. So between that, I know exactly what we're doing with the cost, and believe you me, it gets costly with appraisal fees, expert testimony, and such. So I want to continue to do that for the town, move forward, and take my field of my expertise and put it to good work and save a lot of money for the community. Thank you.
For these contested races, I ask everyone, no applause, no laughter, no boos, try not to cough, no noise from the audience. Thank you. And you have 2 minutes for your opening statement.
Thank you. My name is Deborah Cawley, and I'm running for the Board of Assessors. You might be asking yourself, why do I want to be on this board? I've been going to meetings or watching videos of these meetings for over 6 years now. One thing I can say is not much has changed with this board. The one thing that has changed is that the board meetings are now videotaped. The videotaping has made a few things transparent and not in a good way. People who have attended these meetings have been referred to as the audience, the peanut gallery, as well as a taxpayer being threatened with want to take it outside. My opponent at these meetings was the chairperson. He chose not to take any immediate action. All I can say is shame on him. As a chairperson, you have a responsibility to conduct these meetings in an orderly fashion. Let me tell you the mission statement for this board. Our mission is to deliver excellent service to the taxpayer, keep our doors open to the public, provide adequate tax revenue, provide taxpayers with assessments that are correct and fair to minimize their tax burden, and to foster economic prosperity. This board, as it is now, will never be able to fulfill this mission because it is dysfunctional. Time for change is now. I'm asking for your vote on April 9th. Come stand with me to help us get back to what is promised in the mission statement. Thank you.
Remember, no applause. Thank you. So now we're going to open up with the debate. So first, I have some questions for both candidates. And I'm going to start with Steve for this first question. Why do you think you would be better for the position than your opponent?
Well, as I alluded to in my opening statement, for me, the main criteria is the experience and expertise and et cetera. To be able to walk into a court of law and be qualified goes a long way when you go into Boston on some of these bigger cases. I started in 1980 with the city of Newton for 7 years and the city of Brockton for 14 more years. And now for the last 20 years, I've been a commercial fee appraiser for Fitzgerald Appraisals in Brockton and Easton. We do a lot of commercial work. And just a quick example, it goes a long way. I explained to the town manager recently, just one quick example that we had a case up in the industrial park near the highway. A gentleman had a large industrial building for 2 years. He disagreed with the tax bill and the assessment. So I took a look at it and went through it. But the thing that was good for the town of West Bridgewater is I just appraised a very similar building out of my office over in the city of Taunton. So I had a lot of good sales and a lot of good data. I got basically, on this case, and not a lot of others, but some you have to give a little back. But on this one here, he was looking for about $16,000 over 2 years in tax money, plus 8% interest on that money. It's a wonderful world. So I got him with all the ammo I had because of my full-time job. I got him to withdraw both years, no change, no nothing. So we saved, a trip into Boston, qualified experts. If we went outside, appraising, and a give back if it got adjudicated in the taxpayer's favor. Because I had done something similar with my full-time job, the town was afforded the benefit of not giving a dime back. And this has happened on a few other cases. I've had the chance to look at it over the last 7 or 8 years, and the savings can exceed, depending on how you look at them, between $400,000 to $600,000 if you include interest, which if we give something back, I demand that they waive.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have the same question for you. Would you like me to repeat the question?
Yes, please.
Why do you think you would be better for the position than your opponent?
I do not have the knowledge of assessing that Steve has, but I should not be expected to have that knowledge just coming in. It doesn't mean I cannot gain that knowledge, and members of the board have been voted in without having any background knowledge in assessing. And we also would have a strong principal assessor and the attorneys that handle cases in court go to the meetings with the court, and they are quite capable of getting a result from any appellate tax board case or whatever court case they go to court. So I am willing to learn what needs to be done to be on this board and take some training classes and talk to the principal assessor to get information. Whatever it takes, I'm willing to spend the time doing it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question, I'm going to start with Deb, and then I'm going to ask the same question to Steve. Can you give us at least 3 things or ideas that you can bring to the position?
I think that I would hold the staff accountable for their actions. And I know that there are rules for when you don't come to work because you're out sick, to get a doctor's note and not bring it when you come back. And I also think that I would have an open door policy where people can come in and ask any questions about their tax bill and be treated with dignity and respect when they come in. Everybody should be treated like that when they want to get information from the assessor's office. And I also think that the board needs to get back to business and start worrying about assessing and stop with all the nonsense that's been going on at the meetings. Thank you.
Okay. We have the next question, the same question for Steve. Would you like me to repeat the question?
Yeah, please.
Can you give us at least 3 things or ideas that you can bring to the position?
Yeah, one that I've talked to Dave Gagney about briefly was, and it would be a good one if we could implement somehow, which is kind of really out of maybe the realm a little bit of assessing, but as far as maybe try to get more into, and this is to bring, again, revenues into the town, grant writing. I know they probably do some of that. My office does a lot of work with federal grant money. For example, we just did 2 big ones in Brockton for Safe Routes to School, where they build sidewalks, with grant money. They build sidewalks and help the infrastructure of the town. And I think there's a lot of money out there. I'm not really into that much, but, I reap the benefit of doing what I do for a living and being able to do some of that appraisal work. Secondly is, I think maybe, from talking to people, we need maybe to educate people more about exactly what we do for a living in just a basic sense. I've had 100 people say, what exactly do you guys do down there for a living? And, there's a way of putting it over what you've done before to make it hopefully just, easily understood as best we can. And thirdly, just keep up what we're doing. We have a low abatement turnout. We've given back plenty of money to the town on the overlay surplus. The senior workout program is going great. Just to keep up that positive stuff and keep moving forward.
Okay, so now we're going to move into some questions that were submitted, and these are specific questions to a candidate. I'm going to ask the candidate the question, they can answer it, and then the other candidate can have the opportunity to respond to that candidate's answer. Okay? The first question is for Steve. In the fall, we all witnessed the principal assessor, John Donahue, harass, intimidate, and threaten a resident on camera. The selectmen pressured the Board of Assessors to discipline the employee. They called for his resignation. Why did you not discipline Donahue without the need of the selectmen to pressure you? Did you find Donahue's behavior acceptable?
Well, that's about a 14-part answer, and I'll be brief on it. But basically, we talked in executive session, and we went over what happened there. And there's a lot going on in that particular meeting. But essentially, we were deciding on, and he alluded, he got a 5-day work suspension, and there was some other stuff involved. I forget exactly what. But it was a situation where I'm not sure exactly what entailed, what brought that up. Obviously, I was there watching it, but I was just so disgusted because of, just certain things that went on. I think the whole thing should have been avoided. John way overreacted to that. You can't do that as a municipal person or anybody. In this day and age, you can't react to somebody in that face type of thing. It's not acceptable anywhere, especially here in, for the town of West Bridgewater. Way overreacted, and it was a situation that, for me anyways, I went through something similar in the background up with the city of Newton on a taxpayer hearing. It was an outside vendor, but even back then, it really wasn't acceptable. What exactly to do was a tough call. I worry about my own stuff. I try to do the best job I can for the town. I think I do a pretty good job. I can't control what somebody else does in a meeting or something, and we just try to handle it as best we can.
You have the opportunity to respond if you like.
I would like to. I don't think at any point that it is anywhere near acceptable for someone to threaten or intimidate a resident taxpayer of this town. And I think that in Steve's position as the chairperson, that he should have stopped it right away. Because it didn't just happen one time. It happened 2-3 times, and once was enough. And I personally don't care about another town, what happened there. I care what happens here. And I think that he was only suspended for 5 days because the Board of Selectmen pressured you. And I think that more action should have been taken. I don't believe there was ever an apology to the victim in this circumstance. There was an apology made at a meeting, but not to the person. And I think because you can call the cops on residents for things that are so minor, and not on someone threatening somebody is ridiculous to me. Thank you.
The next question is directed at Deborah, and then Steve can have the opportunity to respond if he likes. My question is for Deborah Cawley. What has motivated you to run for the Board of Assessors?
I have run 2 other times and I wasn't successful, but with watching the videos and seeing how out of control that I feel the board is by actions of members of the board, and it doesn't include all of them, I just feel like it's time to make a change and stir it up a little bit and get back to business. It's pretty much back to business.
Would you like to respond to that?
Absolutely. I'm kind of going back to the other question and respond to that. I find it interesting that, she says what she says, but, a couple of questions ago, she's looking to say, okay, everything's just, what you get, everything's easily done. Where number one, she wants to spend $400 an hour for an attorney to learn the assessing job. Secondly is on a recent occurrence involved her where we had to call the police to have her move out from behind our table at a meeting because she was filming. We said we don't want that, move back, and that whole altercation wasn't good. And I'm the one when we had a choice to make her leave or stay, and I said she'll be fine if she just sits down. So I told the police officer she can stay. So I wasn't about to get mean with anybody, but she was involved in one of those altercations. All that being said, like I said a minute ago, it's a tough thing to do, to try to react to something like that and do the right thing. We just try to do the best job that we can.
Our final question for the assessors is directed at Mr. McCarthy, and again, you can have the opportunity to respond if you would like. Question is, Mr. McCarthy, in a meeting with resident Stephen Currier on September 22nd, 2021, after you said you had found, in quotes, discrepancies on Luke Drive, you said to Mr. Currier, quote, I assure you we'll take a second look at FY21 and the offer that was done at $647,000. We'll do a little something better for you. We'll take a look at it, work something up, and get back to you, end quote. Immediately after the meeting with Mr. Currier, the board went into executive session where the cameras were turned off, and at this time you signed the property tax abatement exemption certificate for the same offer of $647,000 that you just said you would, quote, do a little something better, end quote. If you agreed there were, in quotes, discrepancies, why didn't you do what you said you were going to do?
Well, first of all, let me say right here, right now, that I'm not sure, I'm not saying that's true, it's not true. I'm not sure under the public disclosure exactly what we can discuss and what we can't discuss about an abatement application. Some of that stuff is not open for, public viewing, and some of it is. I do remember, I can say, in a general sense that I looked at the property. As a matter of fact, John was out on a medical thing, so I actually took several properties over on Luke Drive and took a look at it versus others and just tried to do the best thing. There was a discrepancy, believe me, and I don't know why there was. It's a pretty straightforward home, and I felt bad about that. But the reduction that we offered, I felt was more than fair. As far as the numbers go and such, I'm not trying to avoid the question, but I'm not going to answer something that maybe I shouldn't be answering. Directly online with the numbers. I do remember the incident, and that did happen, but, we try to do the best that we can again, and I lowered it down to what I thought was a fair number.
You may respond if you'd like.
I will. I think since the person that owns the property is probably the person that asked the question, I don't see why it couldn't be answered. And from what I read in the heard in the question is that you didn't change anything. And I want to thank you all for that.
That concludes the assessors debate. Thank you both for participating, and best of luck.
I think we have a closing statement.
What?
We have a closing statement.
Oh, that's right. We have closing statements now. Thank you for the reminder.
And I'm going first. And
Should
she's
you go
going
first?
second.
Yep, you will go first.
Are you ready? Okay. Threats, intimidation, or bullying is not what taxpayers need or want. We demand assessments that are correct and fair. We deserve to be heard. And most of all, we expect to never feel unsafe when we challenge an assessment. Thank you, and I would hope everybody will vote for Deborah Colley. Thank you.
Here's your opportunity.
Yeah, thanks, once again for having us. All I want to do with, like I said, I do it for a living and such, and I enjoy the work and I'm good at it. All I want to do is continue to work for the town of West Bridgewater. And, believe you me, the monies over the years that we've saved, I've saved the town in various ways with a lot with that. Because, on these bigger properties, the downtown Boston attorneys, it's an automatic filing. You have to have them come in or whatever and talk to them. So, because I do it for a living, I'm well equipped to talk to them. And, you can check by the money that we have left over each year for abatement givebacks goes toward the senior work-off and such. I'm tight as far as that account goes. And when they come in, I'm ready for them. And like I said, the cost savings with, the appraisals, testimony, and all that good stuff, and I demand waiving the 8% interest saves the town a lot of money and goes in other directions, and it's well-deserved. Thank you for the time.
Thank you both. And next, we're going to do the drawing of numbers for the Selectmen candidates. Okay, everyone. So first we're going to start with opening statements. Anthony will be starting, and then Jim will be second.
Thank you, Jason. Good evening, everyone. My name is Anthony Kinan, and I am running for re-election to the Board of Selectmen. I'm running for one reason. I love this town. I was born here, grew up here, graduated from here, and have lived here all my life. I've been a selectman for the past 6 years and want to continue to represent the town and the taxpayer to help it prosper. As a selectman, I champion the purchase of the old Riverbend, now West Bridgewater Country Club, preserving 167 acres of open space. We all chose West Bridgewater because of its small town charm and its rural roots. Mass-scale development at this location would have changed the town forever. My MBA and my job as a budget analyst at the time provided me with the expertise to have the town purchase the golf course, requiring the management company to pay all expenses and making a profit while doing so. We make about $30,000 a year off the golf course. It's this type of creative financial engineering that I bring to the table. I get things done while saving money. For example, over the past 6 years, we've built new sidewalks, constructed a 9/11 Memorial Park to honor our veterans and our first responders, installed new traffic signals at Howard Street and 106 and East Street and 106. And we've continued to be able to do all this while funding all our departments healthily including the schools, the police, and fire. We've done all these things while keeping the average residential tax bill $200 below the state average. Our residents deserve peace and quiet, so I fought the state for heavy truck exclusions on River Street and Scotland Street. I also serve on the Rent Control Board, protecting the rights of our seniors. For the past 10 years, I've been a member of the West Bridgewater Lions Club, helping to fundraise for initiatives like the Food Pantry, the Boy Scouts, and many others in town. I have more plans for the future, such as converting all streetlights to LED and no charge to the residents, and creating an intergenerational recreational space on Lincoln Street. I do all this because I'm committed to West Bridgewater, and I kindly ask for your vote on April 9th.
Good evening. I would like to thank everyone for coming here tonight for the Meet the Candidates debate. I believe it's very important that when you vote, you are educated on whom is running. My name is Jim Holden. For those of you who do not know me, I'm sure most of you do. And I would like everyone to know that I'm running for selectman. This amazing community has been part of my life for 40 years. And my wife and I have no intentions of moving away from this wonderful town. My son and my daughter-in-law also live in town, and my two beautiful grandchildren are seeing them grow up in the West Bridgewater is a true delight. I want to ensure a positive future filled with opportunity, not only for my family, but for all the families here now and in the future of West Bridgewater. I want to emphasize I'm running for the town and the families who see this community as one they are proud to live in. Thank you.
So next, we're going to go to questions that are directed at both candidates. Each candidate will have the opportunity to answer the question. So you drew number one, so you will get the first question, and then I'll ask you, and we'll go back. Okay. Can you please explain what elements in your background, including education, employment, volunteering, etc., that would make you a great candidate for selectman?
Sure. So I'm from here. I'm a product of West Bridgewater's education system. I graduated just 50 yards away from us. I have a bachelor's degree from Bryant University with a concentration in finance and an MBA from Northeastern University. Professionally, I'm currently the finance director for the Massachusetts Convention Center Authority, where I oversee about a $100 million budget. I'm responsible for many other initiatives there, like some procurement and other project management. I've also recently opened a small business in a couple towns away in the city of Taunton. Just opened that last month. And here in West Bridgewater, I've been a selectman for 6 years. I served on the finance committee for 3 years and volunteered with a number of organizations, primarily through the Lions Club, where I've been a member for a little over 10 years.
You have the same question. Can you please explain what elements in your background, including education, employment, volunteering, etc., that would make you a great candidate for selectman?
Okay, well, once again, I've lived in town for 40 years. I've raised my family here. Both of my children have gone through the school system and have tremendous jobs. I own my own business and have for 35 years. I'm very happy with the fact that I have a good business and it is financially sound. My experience in town is that I served on the school committee for 15 years. During that 15 years, I was the liaison for this beautiful high school for the school committee during its construction, elected by the school committee to keep an eye on everything that went on here to make sure it came out as nice as it is. I also have served on the Building Needs Committee here in town for somewhere between 12 and 15 years, and I am On the Finance Committee, unfortunately, I've only been on it for 2 years. Thank you.
So for the next question, we're going to start with Jim and then Anthony. Could you please tell me your thoughts on upgrading the sidewalk situation in town?
My thoughts are that if the sidewalks, well, if and when the sidewalks do get upgraded, that we should start with the areas that are close to the school system. And we should draw a radius from each school approximately 1 mile so that all the children who do walk or would like to walk have the opportunity to walk on a safe and clean sidewalk where we don't have to worry about somebody being on the edge of the street.
Same question for you, Anthony. Would you like me to repeat it?
No, thanks. I'm good. Thank you. So for the past 6 years, we've put in $100,000 to $150,000 into a sidewalk fund. That initiative started my first year on the board. I supported it. I have to give credit to former Selectman Jerry Lawrence on coming up with the idea. But year after year, we've funded $100,000 to $150,000 into a sidewalk account. That's our role as selectmen. I believe that it is the DPW's role to decide the location for the sidewalks. If anyone has any comments or concerns as to what we're doing with the sidewalks, please feel free to reach out to myself or Chris, here volunteered.
Okay, the next question, we're going to start with Anthony and then Jim. Recently, a question was asked of the townspeople if there was an interest in pickleball. The response was positive. What are your thoughts on the town providing pickleball courts?
So this is an absolute yes. So for the past couple of years, I've worked on the recreational space committee, I believe we call it. So we recently purchased land on Lincoln Street. We last week, 2 weeks ago, hired a designer for that space. Pickleball will absolutely be included in that. Ideally, would like to do it behind the senior center and in addition to the fields on Lincoln Street, but that may or may not be possible. Unsure yet, but absolutely in support.
Would you like me to repeat the question?
No, thank you. I think that we need to have pickleball courts here. I believe it's a court here in West Bridgewater. I originally thought they were going to be proposed for right here behind the high school, but I believe they found that there wasn't not enough room and they didn't want to take away any of the tennis courts. I am aware of the project on Lincoln Street, and I think it's a great idea that we have pickle courts there when the time comes. Other than that, I do not see room for them even behind the senior center, as Anthony stated, because I just don't think it's possible. Thank you.
Next question, we're going to start with Jim, and then we're going to go to Anthony. And the question is, the town hasn't had to have a Proposition 2.5 override in many years. Do you think this is a good thing? What would you do if requests for funds exceeded the 2.5%? Would you be willing to make broad budget cuts across all departments, including the school and public safety budgets, to avoid an override? Or would you just support the override?
That's a tough question. I have a lot of love for the school, and I also have a lot of love for most of the departments in town, if not all of them. And I would hope that the way the town is growing and the way things are getting to the point of our financial status is in respectable shape, we would not ever, and ever is a tough word, have to worry about whether or not we would have a 2.5 or bigger override, so that all of our departments had to be cut more so than we somewhat have a tendency to cut them now. I think that if anything else, I would probably want a real lot of information and have to have a look at where the economy is going based on what the override would cost per household. Thank you.
Would you like me to repeat the question?
Yeah, do you mind so I can get the number of different parts?
The town hasn't had to have a Proposition 2.5 override in many years. Do you think this is a good thing? What would you do if requests for funds exceeded the 2.5%? Would you be willing to make broad budget cuts across all departments, including the school and public safety budgets, to avoid an override? Or would you just support the override?
Thank you. So let me start by saying it's very unlikely that we would ever need an override. We're $2.5 million below our levy capacity. And it's obviously a great thing that we have not had a override in many years. So if we were in a situation, a hypothetical situation where we did, although it's extremely unlikely, I'm unsure whether or not I would support it. It would depend on what the initiatives were that needed to be funded. But what I'd like to say is that we are in such a healthy financial situation because over the past 6 years and even longer, that the town administrator has done an excellent job at building up stabilization. We've been able to balance a budget every year without an override, well below the levy limit. So I envision that continuing, that we will be able to do that for many years to come, continue with the financial health of this town. So it is, although it's very unlikely that it will happen, I can't say without knowing exactly what the initiatives are that needed to be funded, whether or not I'd support the override or support reductions to the budgets.
Okay, the next question for Anthony and then Jim. Why do you think you would be better for the position than your opponent?
So I'd say the primary reason is a proven track record. So for the past 6 years, I have been a selectman. I've worked with my colleagues to have a balanced budget year after year, like I said, while keeping the tax levy below the cap. We've been able to build up stabilization. We've healthily funded all departments. It is true that we've had to decrease some of the requests that come in during budget season. But overall, we've been able to healthily fund every single department. The school department is 35% above the net school spending requirement. We're a full service town. We have a full service fire department, full service police department. That's unlike many communities that are our size. If you go to other parts of the state, there aren't full-time fire departments. A lot of them rely entirely on call firefighters with just one chief. We've been able to provide all these services while keeping taxes as reasonable as possible. Taxes, they'll never go down, but our job is to spend the tax revenue fairly and responsibly. I believe that my education is a big factor, my financial ability. And I believe that if elected, we'll continue on the path that we've been on for the past 6 years.
Same question. Would you like me to repeat it?
Please do.
Why do you think you would be better for the position than your opponent?
I'm not going to go out on a limb and say that I will be better than Anthony is doing now. He's been in the position for 6 years. I give him a lot of credit for what he has done. I believe that I will do an equally well at the job as Anthony does, based on the fact that I believe that I will have a different opinion on some things. And I also believe that it's time for a change and for us to look at where the town is going entirely and how fast we're growing and how we're going to be able to see in the future what we can and cannot control and keep all of our departments comfortably satisfied financially so that we can move on as a town, again, as I said in my opening statement, and not as individual departments. Thank you.
Okay, the next question for Jim and then Anthony. Can you give us at least 3 things or ideas that you can bring to the position?
3 things or ideas that I can bring to the position. Well, number one, again, my idea on the fact that I think it's time for a change is strictly my idea. And I think that I will bring a different point of view on some of the finances as well as where the town is going in growth. And lastly, but not, I'm not sure if we are in a position where everybody knows what's going to happen in the near future, and I think that better communication with all of the residents may be a necessity over the next 5 years.
Would you like me to repeat the question?
Yes, if you don't mind.
Can you give us at least 3 things or ideas that you can bring to the position?
So I'd say going back to the previous question, number one would be the experience, the proven track record that I have over the past 6 years, along with, I guess the second one would go back to the last question as well. My education and professional experience, I believe, make me well qualified, and I'd bring those skills with me back into this position. And then the third would be, I'd say, having a good understanding of residents' needs and wants. I think that's probably one of the most important aspects of this, is to represent the town how the residents would like you to do so.
Okay. So now we are moving on to the candidate-specific questions. Like the prior debate, I'm going to ask the candidate the question, and then the opponent has the opportunity to respond to their answer. So prior to this, we have received 1 question directed at Anthony. We have 7 directed to Jim. So I'm going to start with Anthony's question. We also have more questions if we have time that were submitted, 3 that are for both selectmen, and 1 more that's for Jim. No pressure. Jeez.
No?
So we're going to start with Anthony, and then you have the opportunity to respond to his answer. In the fall, we all witnessed the principal assessor, John Donahue, harass, intimidate, and threaten a resident on camera. As a selectman, you pressured the Board of Assessors to discipline the employee. You also called for his resignation. If Donahue answered to the selectmen, what would you have done?
So similar to the Board of Assessors, we have a town administrator who reports directly to us. And I can tell you that if the town administrator acted in that fashion in a public meeting, threatening to essentially get into a physical altercation with a resident, he would no longer be employed by the town.
You may respond if you'd like.
I believe the answer that Anthony gave is the correct answer. I believe that when the selectmen were notified of the situation, that the individual should have been relieved from his duties immediately. End of story.
Okay, next question is directed at Jim Holden. During your taped candidate interview, you stated that you, quote, don't have all the answers, end quote, and that the town, quote, the town is in good shape, end quote. If you don't have the answers and you admit the town is in good shape, why would someone vote for you over the person that has been involved in running the town already?
Say that again. I'm sorry. I know what I said. I just, something sounded different.
During your taped candidate interview, you stated that you don't have all the answers and that the town is in good shape. If you don't have all the answers and you admit the town is in good shape, why would someone vote for you over the person who has been involved in running the town already?
Okay, I do not have all the answers. And I don't think that anybody has all the answers, no matter whether they've been here for several years or whether they've been here for, or they're a newcomer. I think that over time, I will have the answers that need to be properly answered to the questions. That doesn't sound right, but I believe it is. And I think that the town is in good shape based on my knowledge of my years as a school committee member, my time as a building needs member, and now my time with the finance committee, and how we have, and also, I'm sorry, being on the capital budget committee. I see that, you know, we are financially sound, so to speak, and that I think that as long as we keep moving forward in that direction, things will be good. I just hope that nothing changes.
You may respond if you'd like.
Sure, quickly. So I just say I agree with my opponent that the town is in very good shape. I like to think that I at least contributed some to that over the past 6 years, and I would like the opportunity to allow the town to continue to be in good shape and even make improvements. That's all.
The next question. In your Meet the Candidates video, you stated people should serve no more than 2 terms. How do you reconcile that with your 15-year term on school committee? How can you justify term limits in town when most positions run unopposed?
Unfortunately, yes, I do believe that people should only serve for 2 terms. I am not a good example of that. Excuse me. Based on my 15 years on the school committee, I did run unopposed every 3 years, and I ran by myself. During those times that I did run, I more than welcomed anybody to run against me. Yeah, I was not comfortable with running every time by myself, uncontested, but if people don't want to step up to the plate, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know how to change that. Although I do feel strongly that 2 terms should be enough for any person to serve on a committee, and that, you know, we need new faces with new ideas. I hope that answers your question.
Would you like to respond to that?
Sure. So I just say I don't believe in term limits for this position at 2 terms. I think that every election is essentially a term limit. It's the opportunity for the residents to decide who they want to represent them in office.
Next question. There are rumors about town stating that you have said that if you were elected, you will replace the town administrator and the town's DPW manager immediately. Will you confirm or deny these rumors? And if true, for either individual, could you state why you would take such immediate action?
No, those rumors are false. I will not replace Mr. Gagney or the highway superintendent. I think that they are doing a fine job with what they have. I've worked with Mr. Gagney in the past when I was on the school committee. I'm working with him again now on the capital budget and finance committee, and I find that difficult to believe that somebody would say that I've actually stated that.
You may respond if you'd like.
All I'd like to say is that the DPW director and the DPW department do an excellent job. Our roads are always plowed very well, better than the neighboring communities. And Mr. Gagney has been instrumental into our financial success. So both are truly excellent. That's all.
Next question. In your recent Facebook post, you mentioned that the incumbent, quote, sold his home, end quote. What is your purpose of that statement? Are you accusing him of election fraud by running in this election?
No, I am not by any means insinuating that. my concern is that he sold his home, and I realize that you can't hold anything against a person who no longer owns a home here in town because they do not pay taxes in town. But I also believe that if you are on a board and if you do own a home here, you are more obligated because of your financial interest, along with all the rest of the residents, to pay taxes along with support the local businesses. That's what I meant. I had nothing to do with whatever other rumors there are out there.
Would you like to respond to that?
Yeah, so it is true that I did sell my home in January. As of now, I am looking for a new home. Everyone knows that there isn't much on the market. The market, it's unprecedented, what we've seen. I'm waiting for the right home for me, and when I find it, I'll buy it. In the meantime, I'm still residing in West Bridgewater. That's all.
Next question. This is a long one. Every town committee member is required to take a course and produce a certificate from the state on conflicts of interest laws. I have attended Selectmen's meetings where Selectwoman Anderson has recused herself from a DPW-related matter due to her spouse's employment there. I have also witnessed the Selectwoman Reyes recuse herself from school matters because her daughter was working part-time in the school system. Why did you, on 2 occasions last year, vote to pass the school budget as a member of the Finance Committee when your spouse works in the school system? And why are these matters conflicts for Selectwoman Anderson and Selectwoman Reyes, but not conflicts for you?
My wife is an assistant here in the school, and yes, she is under the contract of all the teachers and the assistants. I was removed many years ago, so that most of you know, from the negotiating team for the contracts because of her position here. I was never told that it was a conflict of interest for me to vote on the school budget based on the fact that my wife is a teacher here. So if there is a conflict there, I apologize, but I guess that's my mistake. I should have known.
Would you like to respond?
That sounds more like a personal issue. I choose not to respond to that.
Okay. Next question. One of the primary responsibilities of the Board of Selectmen is to set the tax rate. Please explain what that means and how it works.
Now, I am not 100% aware of how that works or what it means. I would have to have more experience in that office in order to answer that question correctly. So I'm not going to get down that road. Thank you.
Would you like to respond?
Could you repeat it for me?
Yes. One of the primary responsibilities of the Board of Selectmen is to set the tax rate. Please explain what that means and how it works.
So we don't actually set the tax rate. We set the tax split. Really, it's town meeting who determines what our tax base will be through, or our tax amount will be through the setting of the budgets. And then the Board of Selectmen has the opportunity to shift the tax burden to commercial and industrial if it chooses. Because we have a strong commercial base, we're allowed to do that. And over the past 6 years, we have shifted more onto the commercial industrial than onto the residential.
Okay. Next question. How do you feel about, or why would a current school committee member be contacting residents describing you as, quote, hot-headed mischief maker, end quote?
It's a good question. Am I hot-headed? I'll ask the crowd here. Anybody want to?
They're not allowed to speak, so.
Well, I feel that I have had moments like anybody, maybe being a little hot-headed, but I don't think that in my overall appearance, I am a hot-headed person at all.
Would you like to respond?
Sure. So I've been called many things, but hot-headed definitely isn't one of them. I believe that I'm actually pretty mild and calm. I believe that I've been pretty reasonable, and my time on the board, I've always been under control and made reasonable, intelligent decisions.
Okay. That concludes the questions directed at Mr. Holden. The next 3 questions were submitted by you in the audience, and they are for both the selectmen to answer. So I'm going to start with Anthony for this one, give you a little break. Please outline your formal education and explain how each phase will be helpful in your role as selectman.
Sure. So this is pretty similar, I believe, to a question that we just had a few minutes ago. So like I said, I have a bachelor's degree in business administration with a concentration in finance and an MBA. That has proven to be very helpful with initiatives like I mentioned in my opening with the golf course, and even on routine decisions on budget initiatives. And my professional experience is similar, being finance director for a fairly large organization.
Would you like me to repeat the question for you?
Please.
Okay. Please outline your formal education and explain how each phase will be helpful in your role as selectman.
Excuse me. I think in my position, my best education that I can tell you is the years that I served on the school committee and helping put that budget together every year after year, knowing that I had to be financially sound for not only the town and all of its residents, but to make sure that the school kept moving forward and to be able to afford what we would need to keep it going in the correct direction. I also think that being self-employed for 35 years has helped me have a better understanding of my pluses and minuses as far as, especially through the good times and bad times of the economy.
Okay, I'm going to start with you now. And this next question you both kind of touched upon, but one of you asked it, so I'm going to ask it. Please describe your service on any other town boards, commissions, etc.
Like I stated earlier, I am on the Finance Committee, have been for 2 years. I just this year was elected or appointed through the Finance Committee to be on the Capital Budget Committee, and I have been on the Building Needs Committee for the past 15 years at the most, and I don't know if everybody here is aware of what that committee does. It is a committee of residents where if a department needs under an emergency and/or cannot afford to finance a need within the department, they can come to us and ask for money so that they can be able to afford what the necessity of that particular item would be.
Same question. Would you like me to repeat it?
No, thank you. So I currently serve on the Rent Control Board, where we work with the seniors and the park owners to set fair and equitable rent for the mobile home parks. I was on the Finance Committee for 3 years prior to being a selectman. I have been on the Capital Budget Committee a few years, I forget how many, but as a representative of the Board of Selectmen, and of course, I've been on the on this Board of Selectmen for 6 years.
Okay. Next question. I'm going to start with Anthony and then Jim, and this is our last question. Does either of the candidates have any hands-on experience in public safety?
I worked as a summer special police officer for a couple of years down the Cape, along with being in EMT for a little bit.
Please say that again.
Yep. Does either of the candidates have any hands-on experience in public safety?
I do not have any hands-on experience in public safety at all.
Okay, so now we're going to go to closing remarks. We're going to start with Mr. Holden.
I thank all of you for coming out this evening to attend this meeting. I thank Anthony for coming along also, and us having a civil debate on where our future is going. I would love to say that I hope that all of you will deeply consider voting for me as selectman, and we'll see how things go over the next several weeks. Thank you.
And now for your closing remarks.
Firstly, I'd like to thank everyone who put this together, the staff in the town administrator's office and the town clerk and you, Mr. Moderator. I'd just like to say that I believe that I am qualified to be reelected to the Board of Selectmen. I have like I've said a number of times now, I have a degree in business administration, an MBA, and work as a director of finance. Now, I own my own business that just recently opened about a month ago. In addition, I believe that my track record is really what qualifies me. We have reinvested over the past 6 years in equipment. We have state-of-the-art equipment like new plow trucks, new police cruisers, new ambulance, and we're working on additional fire apparatus. We've been able to install traffic signals at on Route 106 at East Street and Howard Street, working with MassDOT, attempting in our state legislature, attempting to get grants, although not always successful. We've been working on sidewalks. We've built a new 9/11 Memorial Park. I worked on the heavy truck exclusion on River Street and Scotland Street. West Bridgewater Country Club has proven itself exactly how we expected it to when we came to town meeting 5 years ago. We've reinvested into our buildings and into our employees. Our schools enjoy one of the highest graduation rates in the Commonwealth. Our debt is very low, and our rainy day fund has close to $3 million in it. Over the past 6 years, we've had very few lawsuits, and I believe only one union grievance. And this is just in 6 years. These accomplishments prove we have a well-run town. I believe that this will continue, and that and together we can continue on this track. Change isn't always necessary.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So thank you both. That concludes our candidate debates, and I want to thank both the candidates and all the candidates, and I want to thank you all for coming. Thank you.